The most recent straight 6 powerhouse from BMW is often compared to the renowned 2JZ engine, and most of the time it is only about the peak numbers. A driver and a tuner know that that's perhaps the least important thing when it comes to engine tuning and behavior. Let's break the topic about the B58 into pieces. The B58 is a direct successor to the N55 and N54 engines, both of which received some good reputation when power figures are concerned. The B58 is very different from the ground up. It actually uses a B57 diesel aluminum alloy closed deck block, promising better durability than the N engines. The B57 deals with 50 psi of boost already from the factory. Besides, the aluminum block dissipates heat more effectively than cast iron ones. The crankshaft and connecting rods are forged, and while the pistons are not, they are sturdy as well. The main bearing caps only have 2 bolts each, but there is a heavy block griddle to strengthen the whole bottom end. A very little friction is present in the B58, which helps with the whole efficiency of the engine. As this is much more undersquared engine than the N54 and N55, there is possibly more torque coming from the larger stroke of the crankshaft. But a narrower bore also means limited space for valve size. This engine has a ton of torque everywhere and heads are just fine for its stock rev range. However, it is not built for a high flow, high RPM character. It is a typical double overhead cam 4 valve per cylinder setup, with a Valvetrain system varying valve lift and vanos altering valve timing. There are 6 direct injectors in the head only, possibly resulting in carbon deposits in the intake on high mileage engines. The intake itself is plastic with a drive-by-wire throttle body and a water-to-air intercooler somehow implemented inside the intake plenum. The exhaust is a bit unusual, but not uncommon these days, as there are only 2 ports exiting the head. A technical update of the engine brought a 6-port head, but more on that later. The single twin-scroll turbo is mounted directly to the top of the engine, as the exhaust header is a part of the head and provides very little turbo lag. The compressor wheel is 10% larger and the turbine wheel is 6% wider in diameter than the N55 turbo. It pushes a bit more air than the N55, 8 to 11 psi, and there is also a higher compression ratio of 11 to 1. Overall, this engine is not only really powerful and potent, but it is also incredibly fuel efficient, especially with the 8-speed gearbox. Where BMW really made the B58 maintenance tricky and not so DIY is the timing gear placement. It is from the back at the firewall, also with the Vano solenoids and oil filter housing. The solenoids are impossible to remove from there, and there is very little chance to do the timing with the engine in the car. However, the water pump is a mechanical unit once again, paired to an electronically operated heat management. The engine is also passively enclosed, with shielding, drastically improving heat retention after shutdown. From information gathered by BMWtuning.co, the stock block won't be a limiting factor for triple-digit tunes. The internals should be plenty durable for 600 to 650 wheel horsepower, the crank possibly over 1000 easily. It may go up to 800 horsepower with an upgraded turbo. For any heavily tuned daily drivers, except supporting modes like an intercooler, charge pipe and downpipe, the stock motor seems to be well over-engineered. Even the turbo has got some space to work within, and with doubled boost pressure, it should be a reliable commuter. The trouble-free living of the B58 could be affected about 20 to 21 psi of boost, which gets it to the 600 horsepower ballpark. The updated engine featured also in the Supra A91 differs mainly in the head design. The 2-port concept was ditched in favor of the 6-port, which is actually a direct plug-and-play on the original 2-port head engine. Even though the 2-port is okay for daily drivers, the 6-port shows massive improvement in airflow. It is an essential modification for unleashing the maximum potential. Besides that, it also lowers the compression ratio to 10.2 to 1. This is most definitely a welcomed feature for hardcore builds, massively increasing torque in the mid-range and top end. Same as the N54 and N55, the B58 has been installed in everything from the small 1 series up to the largest models, even SUVs and hybrids. This means that it won't be difficult to get your hands on a B58 platform for affordable money in the future. Yes, there is also an S version of the engine, basically the BMW M engine, which has got twin turbos and forged pistons on top, but we might talk about it another time. In final words, I will add that there is even more potential in it.